It's Sunday, July 26, 2020. This is All About Your Benjamins and your weekly mixtape and week in review video. Hope you had a great week. Beautiful weekend here in Fishers, Indiana. So as you can see, the sun is out and we're enjoying it. But that's not what you're here for. So let's get to the headlines that may or may not be impacting your financial plan and portfolio. And as you can see on the blog post, not a lot of headlines this week. We've got 4. So let's run through them real quick. First and foremost, the last few weeks we've been talking about unemployment and watching those rates and what are they doing. Well, last week unemployment ticked up a little bit to 1.4 million claims, which is the highest in I think a few months, 4 months. Now, not a huge uptick, went from 1.3 to 1.4, but it upticked back up. And that was one of the things that I was talking about we needed to pay attention to with states rolling back their openings and coronavirus picking back up. What's that going to do to unemployment? So we'll have to watch and see if the trend keeps on going back up or if this is just a little blip. You'll be able to see the chart right here. If I can do my editing right, we'll put it right there so you can see the small little uptick after the downtrend in unemployment. So that's the first thing I wanted to just bring to attention. That didn't have a huge impact on the overall markets or anything, but just something that we've been talking about that I wanted to keep in front of us as we determine what's going to be happening here for the remainder of the year, just so we understand what's going on. The second one is a positive. Home sales are ticking up. It was up 20% in June. So people are out buying houses. You figure low interest rates, mortgage rates around 3%. Also seeing a lot of young families starting to buy. And I don't have the evidence to prove this, but what I've been reading and hearing from bigger cities is a lot of young professionals are moving out to the burbs. So where we never thought they were going to do that, they're starting to do that. Part of the reason being, you look at some of the hardest hit areas with coronavirus this year were the big cities. New York City is a good example of that. So being confined to a small apartment, condo, whatever it might be, not a lot of space to go, not able to leave, that going out, moving out and getting a bigger square footage residence for the same amount you're paying for rent in downtown New York might look a little bit more attractive now with quarantine and things like that. Just bring that attention. Also, as people age, having kids, having families, moving out of the cities makes sense. But we're seeing that spike. And that's a good thing because that means people are out feeling comfortable enough with the situation to make a major purchase and a major life decision. Moving away from the U.S., I'm a believer in global diversification, so having assets all over the world. That means we need to pay attention to what's going on out in other countries. So the EU agreed to a $2.06 billion stimulus plan. Now it's not set in stone. All of the countries have to go back and vote and approve upon it, but they have agreed within the union to put together a stimulus package to get through the coronavirus impact over there. So a good thing that they've got something to go support the countries. We think of Italy and Greece and those countries that struggled. They're in good shape with this new bill this new stimulus package that they passed. But got to see how that plays out. So it's good to know what's going on. That could be a headline. You get to some of the countries voting on it and they say they don't want to be a part of it. What does that do to international markets? What does that do to our markets? So it's good to understand what's going on outside of the U.S. and that's kind of the headline over in Europe. And finally, the final piece of economic market news type stuff. I have one final piece after this, but China and the U.S. are back at it with closing down each other's consulates. So in Houston, they closed down to China, and that was in retaliation to a U.S. one being closed down in China. I only bring this up because for a long period of time, if you go back before coronavirus came, the China trade war was a big conversation. We were talking about that every week. Headlines from that were moving the markets. We had what seemed to be a resolution, but not really. And just bring it back up that that's not something that's done. China probably is not going to be out of our headlines anytime soon. It's just been watered down relative to everything else going on. But as we think of things that could cause a spike in the market or a downturn in the market that might scare people, China becoming a bigger headline could be that as well, especially with us trying to bounce back from everything going on. You add trade wars back into it and all these other things that could come up with us in China. Just a headline to be aware of. And the final non-market thing, positive, sports are back. Growing up, I was a big basketball fan. I still love basketball. Not quite the sports watching person that I used to be. I don't really sit around and watch games very often, but basketball is back in the bubble. We were watching that this morning with breakfast. You have baseball going. Golf has been going for a little while. So we're starting to see some of normalcy come back. Even though there's no fans, kind of weird to watch the games without the fans. I don't think it's as exciting. So one thing I realized is the fans actually make the games more fun, just that atmosphere. But for those of you that are looking for normalcy to return or big sports fans, you've got to be happy to see these sports coming back. So a little bit of normalcy, a little bit of enjoyment coming back to our lives in the form of sports. So that's it for this week. Be sure to check out all of the articles down below, the blog post down below. A great week of writing from all over the finance world. And also, while you're watching this on YouTube, there's a little button down below that allows you to subscribe, and even notifications if you want those. If your kids play Fortnite, they might call those noties. I hear that all the time in our house. But be sure to subscribe. Be sure to get notifications turned on, so as more and more content comes out on this channel, the RLS Wealth channel is going to be booming with content here in the future. You don't miss out on it. And be sure to pay attention to the blog as well. So thanks for watching. We'll see everybody next week. Have a good one.